Good afternoon and welcome to the Joy Show. I am so grateful you've chosen to join us today. I'm Barbara Schreiner Trudell, and Joy stands for Just One You. And we are here to celebrate the unique nature of each individual. And today I have a remarkable guest, as always, and it is the Reverend Lameteria D. Hall. Now, Lametria is a remarkable woman. And as I get started on her bio, I'm going to backtrack a second and talk about the land acknowledgement, the territory. We are living, working, and playing on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations, including the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, and more recently the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Haudenosaunee nations, and is now home to many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. We are on Turtle Island, and we are creating harmony, peace, and hope for truth and reconciliation to be fully realized. So I am grateful for all who have stewarded this land, and it is my desire to honor that and to move forward in oneness. Well, my guest today, Reverend Lametria Hall, is just a remarkable woman. She began her journey, her New Thought journey, in 1989 at Christ Universal Temple in Chicago under the spiritual leadership of the Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman. Upon relocating to Baltimore, Maryland in 1991, she met some fellow travelers who also were on this path, and together they founded One God, One Thought Center for Better Living in Baltimore. And that was in 1994. She's an international inspirational speaker, workshop facilitator, lecturer, seminar leader, and she uses her gifts to teach various educational, spiritual, religious, and in corporate forums as well. She is truly a powerhouse woman getting things done. She is the Dean of Teacher Training for the Johnny Coleman Theological Seminary in Miami Gardens, Florida. Certified laughter yoga teacher. How cool is that? She's passionate about sharing her gift and making a difference in the world. She is currently the senior minister of the Verity Center for Better Living in Toronto. And, she's kind of, living in both places, Baltimore and Toronto at the moment. So she is crossing that border on the regular. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the many years of experience that she has in her education as we bring her into the room and have a little chat. Lametria, welcome, welcome.
I am so happy to be here. Got a lot going on, and I'm in the U.S. in my in my home in Baltimore. So
Well, I'm so glad you're here, and I understand today is your beautiful husband's birthday. Happy birthday,
yes,
Winston.
he can hear you in the background, and thank you for your birthday wishes.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Now, your journey, what was your call to ministry? Because you're very passionate about this and you have a very clear way of teaching and presenting, and you are a rock star in this. So tell me a little bit about what brought you to ministry. Like, what was that path?
Well, when you think about my initial appointment into ministry, it started with working with young athletes in the city of Chicago,
Oh,
inspired very much so by a particular young man by the name of Benjamin Wilson, which known as Ben Wilson. In 1984, he was the number one high school basketball player in the country and the U.S.
yeah.
Okay, and I have two brothers that were also three brothers actually involved in sports, and I just love working with these young people as as athletes. Um, After Benji's tragic death or him making a transition, it just even and inspired me to work very, very closely with youth, and that continued to evolve. I found myself moving to Baltimore I'm working with young people there at a community college level with not having the official credentials at the time as an educator. My work for what I had done through churches throughout the many, many years um, allowed me to have that space to serve at the community college level and then earn my credentials for teaching and working with young people. But it started with, I would say, with Benji and my brothers. Yes.
That's fantastic, because I think working with youth is absolutely the key to creating a peaceful, loving world. We're not going to do it by getting us old timers, on board. We got to start a little younger than that and build the youth up so they begin to believe in themselves to
Absolutely.
and feel like I love what happens at Verity, where the young people from very young get up and read on a Sunday morning during the service. It builds confidence. They feel loved and adored because everybody's applauding and excited, but it trains them to have a presence on stage and to give their gift, which I think is really, really important. And you're doing some really remarkable work here in Toronto, which we're very blessed to have you here and, jumping across that border on a regular, but we're
Yes.
blessed.
And I'm
So
so happy, yeah, to be in Toronto. And it's interesting because coming to Toronto, my first interaction with meeting with someone in the community was meeting with someone who is an athletic director over the AAU leagues in Toronto. And my conversation was about how do I engage youth to be a part of the new spiritual community that I'm a part of. And so we talk from time to time, but I've been doing my very best to connect with athletes. One of my follow-up calls, as I was calling members and friends of Verity, I
yeah.
spoke with a young lady, and when I shared with her my background, the first thing she said is, "How can you assist me with my son, who is a basketball player here in Toronto?"
I
So it
love
just keeps getting better and better, better. I'm learning names and getting familiar with the teams. I've reached out to a new team in Scarborough, even
that.
about being a chaplain for the team. I think they're the Shooting Stars or something. I don't want to say anything that I don't have the names correct, but I think it's the Shooting Stars. So I'm putting that out to the universe
Yeah,
as well. But that was my way of connecting into ministry through Chicago. Even in Baltimore, I was an assistant men's basketball coach and worked with young people throughout the Baltimore area. And
yeah,
that's my same desire in Toronto. And if you notice on a Sunday morning, if I know that Tyler is in the house, because
yeah,
I could see Tyler growing up in Verity. I think Tyler's about five or no, he's about 6 or 7 now.
yeah.
And we have already talked about ministry, little Tyler of Verity Center.
I love that. I love that. Because that's the thing is like as we begin to teach these principles, which are so powerful, that
Yes.
we have the ability to create a better life. We have
Yes.
the ability to create whatever it is that we desire, and how we do that. Like I look at my daughter who's been going to Verity since she was 6 years old, and just how she's grown up to feel quite strong in her own self, right? She's got a presence that's comfortable, and I love that, and I love the connections that are created through that whole concept of as we begin to think in new ways, as we begin to explore our spirituality, we start to see we're not broken and flawed. We actually are created in the image and likeness of the creator, which makes us powerful beyond anything this finite self can truly acknowledge and recognize. So I'm really excited to see what happens over the next little while, and especially around sports. Like it is basketball kind of the main one because you understand it the most?
Basketball is the main one, but I worked in Chicago with many other organizations that included football and baseball as well. Even when I think of your daughter as one of the youth members of Verity
Yeah.
Center, I remember coming in and it wasn't a connection right away.
Yeah.
And I remember this day as if it was yesterday, and I'll probably remember as if it's another tomorrow. I was doing a lesson sermon, can't remember the name of it, but I mentioned a song all the way up, and I caught Gigi's attention. And
Yeah.
after all the way up was mentioned in the lesson, she and I connected every moment. And there are many times that as I'm speaking, I will call her name out,
Yeah.
in the moment as I'm delivering a lesson. And that's so important to look around and see that young people within our
Yeah.
congregations are relating to the message. I've had an
Very important.
opportunity to meet with a couple of other ministers in the area. And
Mhm.
one of the things I said to them or asked them, what could they tell me about the spiritual community as a whole? And there is one message that really stands out to me. And he said that Rev Lameteria, generally, Canadians are not that caught up in religion. And I get that. And even as a spiritual community, he says if you can't bring something relevant, then you might as well stay at home. I mean, that's my interpretation of that
It's
message.
it's actually true.
Mhm.
It's interesting because that is one of the differences between Canada and the US. I
Yes.
mean, in the US, it's right on the money, "In God we trust." Here, you
Yes.
use the word God, and sometimes people go, "Well, I don't wanna,"
Mhm.
it's like there's been some negativity around religion, but what we do isn't that. We are, the work that you and I do is about empowering people to find their authentic self, to live that truth. And so, yeah, we talk about God, but it's not a guy in the sky. It is
Absolutely not.
exactly, it's a dynamic energy we live, move, and have our being in. So,
Yes.
when we can get that message across that there is only one thing going on and we're all some part of it. But yeah, Canada's very different when it comes to, and Eastern Canada more so than the West.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's yeah, I don't know why. I was really surprised when I moved here as to the differences from, Western Canada to Eastern Canada, just with receptivity of people. Even same thing in the US, when I would go to conferences in New York or New Jersey, and then go to one in California, very, very different experience.
Yes.
So, it's yeah, we're all finding our way, but I think if we can reach the youth, we're well on our way to creating miracles.
That's very, very, very critical. As I said, right now, when we think about our youth, that's our future. And
Yeah.
so it's important that our time and investment is put into a space where there is youthfulness, and we don't talk about ages too much or anything like that in our spiritual community, but it's very important that we embrace the power of youthfulness. And having our young people involved is so important to me. And
Oh,
not just with them reading the daily inspiration, it's us spending time with them to find out what they are interested in. Not what we think they
yeah.
should be interested in, but what are they? And that's helping them to develop where they are expressing their authentic selves.
Exactly, and I love your theme for the year,
Yeah.
give it to me again, revealing the best
Expressing the best
in
image
the
of
best
God within each one of us. And
expressions.
we could use that term to say expressing the best, authenticity within us, just
Exactly.
giving it our best. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what I love about the whole New Thought message is that we're really striving to uh, assist the people who come to us as students or as, congregants to find their voice and be willing to live from that and share it in the world rather than trying to fit into a box that maybe somebody else created for them, which of course doesn't really doesn't
Doesn't
really
work.
does not work.
And we're all are uniquely expressions. You
Yes.
won't find what it's just like with our children. You know that we do not have two children, even if they're twins, that are identical in that sense of expressing their authentic selves.
Yeah, yeah, that I think that's an important message for parents is to really come to understand that you might have one child, two children, four children. You have to treat them all differently. You love them all equally, but
Yes.
you must treat them differently because they have different needs, desires, wants, different ways of expressing. I have four children, and three of them are artistically inclined, and one is a jock.
Okay.
Well, you know, my son who's a sports fanatic and, working out all the time, and he has a very different way of being in the world than the one who's creating music or
Mhm.
wood carvings or drawing or painting or creating YouTube videos, whatever they're doing. It's a different kind of process and a different way of being that has to be honored and acknowledged. So how we find our time with our kids really matters too, giving them space.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I have 4 children as well. I call them 2 sets of PJs. I have 2 that their names begins with P's and the other 2 with J's. So 2 sets of PJs, and each one express very differently. They're
Yeah,
3 young women and my son.
yeah.
So they're all expressing very differently. And even for parents, if they try to say we love differently, we love equally. However, each equal expression is different
It
because
is.
our children are different. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's one of the great illusions that we love you all the same. And I think that's as parents. I know with my first 3, there was a time where I was, like, trying to make them be, in a way that would make me comfortable. Oops.
Yes.
Yeah, and then just sort of learning, the joy of learning. We're forever students, learning that that doesn't work.
Yeah.
What worked for the first 2 didn't work for number
Didn't
3.
work for the others. And even when we think about ministry, I always, when we look at a succession plan for us,
Yeah,
I look at the youngest in our facility first and start working from there.
yeah,
I asked a question to a board member. I said, I am specifically targeting a particular youth. And I said, can you guess who it is? And he made so many different guesses, and it was not correct. And when I told him where I was looking, he was shocked. We
yeah.
had a toddler just started walking, Jackson. I started looking at Jackson
Yeah,
immediately, watching
absolutely.
how he expresses because his mom is a member, she's a choir member as well.
Mhm.
And so I'm looking at, and I'm not sure if he's 2 years of age yet,
Not
you know,
yet.
not yet,
Just
but
over a year.
he is hitting the buttons on the piano, he's dancing on the stage, he
Yeah,
is, getting acclimated to
yeah,
being in a spiritual community environment. And
yep.
so that's where we begin with our youngest.
Always with our youngest. I know in my center, I have a teenager, she's
Mm,
15, who
mm,
has been coming every week.
excellent.
And is so excited to be there. Like she's sitting, leaning forward, listening to the message. And last week she brought a couple more friends with her, and all three of them were like, wow, this was amazing. And it's like reaching that group with a new center is so powerful, because that's where you have longevity as well. If we're only reaching people over 50 or over 60, well, they ain't going to be around forever. So
Not at all.
what?
Not at all.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. So reaching the youth. So do you have a particular plan or strategy for really engaging the young people to keep them attentive and attending and learning and discovering?
Well, absolutely. That's my initial response. Absolutely. As I look around Verity's Center, what's most important is engaging with them individually to build a relationship with the
Yes.
youth that I have, which is a small portion compared to the adults. The
Mhm.
other strategy is looking at the community. What is needed in the community? What's going on in the community? And so I've been in the midst over the last, probably more intentionally, the last 6 months of getting out into the community, meeting individuals, finding out. I'm finding out right now more of what the seniors are doing, um, because that's what I've been connecting with a
Yeah.
lot lately. But definitely through connecting with athletes, that's important.
Yeah.
I did meet recently a minister who has a basketball team for of the church, and they're bringing in more people where they're playing basketball at the church, although we do not have a gym. But my point is, right now for us as ministers is to go where they are. And so I want
Absolutely.
to get out more of going where the youth are. So I have been connecting with educators
Yeah.
as it relates to what can we do in the school, system.
Yeah.
So that's another area. But my point is go where they are,
Go where
collaborate
they
more with other churches and centers, especially in the area. So
are. Mhm.
I'm really, really big on people engagement and community engagement.
And you're very good at that.
Thank you.
You're very good at that. I watch you and I am in awe of how connected you are to each individual and how present you are with each person as you connect with them.
Thank
It's really admirable. And I watch that and go, this is really, really good stuff. Really good stuff. Because not everybody does that. There's a lot of ministers, authors, actors, whoever, people of prominence, let's say. It's
you.
not really a good word, but somebody who maybe has a level of engagement that, you know, your average layperson would go, oh, look at them. Um, we're all unique and special.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
We all put our pants on the same way, one leg at a
Yes.
time, and no one's better or less than. But there is that idea, and I think sometimes we meet people, we've read their books or we've heard them speak, and we're like, wow, that's so great. And then when we connect with them, there isn't a connection. It's like they're in a hurry to move on to the next thing, or they're thinking something else and they're not really present. That
Mhm.
is not you at all.
Thank
um,
you.
yeah, that's something that I just truly admire, because just watching you on the Sundays when I am able to attend, and just seeing the way you're connecting with people, I'm watching you build this remarkable center, and it won't be long before you're going to be doing two services, because not everybody's going to fit.
Well, that's why I'm developing leaders. I have
Absolutely.
right currently, I'm 4 individuals that are taking it to another level. Through our organization, you go through the teaching process and then into the ministerial process.
Yeah.
So currently, we have two that are in the teachers training program under the Johnny Coleman Theological Seminary, which is in the U.S. But no
Yeah.
matter where you are, you could join at any time and be a part of that. And then we have two individuals that are in the ministerial program. And what I'm doing is just providing them the space where they all could come on, join in, and keep it moving forward, you know. And I want to do the same thing with our young people. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you're offering scholarships and all kinds of things
Yes.
for the youth. That's absolutely brilliant. I love that. We're going to take a little commercial break and we're going to be right back. You're watching The Joy Show with Barbara Schreiner Trudell and, of course, Reverend Lameteria D. Hall. And we will be right back in just in a minute. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching The Joy Show with Barbara Schreiner Trudell, and my guest today is the Reverend Lameteria D. Hall, who is the senior minister at Verity Center for Better Living in Toronto, Canada. And they do online services as well as in person. So, regardless of where you are, you can be tuning in every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Or if you want to be there for meditation, 10:35 a.m. Eastern Time. So, Lameteria, back to this conversation. I'm loving the energy of this. You mentioned earlier, talking to schools and stuff to see ways of sort of expanding what it is that you're doing to be able to engage youth and help them to live a better, more positive and productive life. What are some of the things you're planning in that regard to sort of get those inroads happening?
Okay. Well, one of the things I just connected with a nonprofit organization in the Toronto area. And I thought this will be a good way of preparing for something of how we bring our youth in.
Yeah.
And we had a Saturday workshop where we came together from like 9 to 1. It ended up going to about 3 o'clock because they didn't want to leave. And we had about 20 individuals there. Age range varies, but
Yeah.
some younger in their 20s. And what we did was just had a fun Saturday of activities. We did mindfulness. I mean, I stayed away from any tone that might have sound religious because it wasn't about that. It's about enlightenment and empowerment. And so we did vision boards. They were fascinated by the vision boards.
They would love that.
Oh, they love, and we did laughter yoga, which we can
Oh,
talk about that a little bit as well.
that's where I was gonna go next.
Okay. So we went from mindfulness to vision boards to laughter yoga, and then we had, I call it a circle chat, and that concluded the day.
Mm,
But they didn't want to leave. And this was a variety of individual, very diverse backgrounds from different places. But
yeah,
the age range, again, was anywhere from 20 to 40. And it went over very well. So I thought about, bringing in young people, just having fun and making a connection to see what gravitates to them or resonates with them. And I
yeah.
know the vision board was super, and the laughter yoga was shockingly fun to them and enjoyable. So
Oh, I'm so glad.
that's another, another way besides the sports.
Yeah. Oh, so let's talk about laughter yoga because laughter yoga really is fun. And I think for some of us that are a bit older, when we're first introduced to it, it's like, you want me to do what? I'm sorry, you want me to do what in public?
Yeah.
It's kind of, they're like, they just go for it. They
And they
don't have
go
to.
with it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, laughter, I am very happy that the term laughter yoga sparked in my life, especially at a particular time where I was um, in the midst of making a decision which way to go as far as leaving the corporate environment and going full time into ministry.
Yeah.
And I was actually, I always like to begin with where it began for me. I've been laughing all my life for no particular reason and for many other reasons.
Exactly.
And to get to a point where I am in a very enlightening mindset and space in my life. I'm in meditation, deep into a meditation, and feeling so good. And I was awakening out of the meditation into a spark of laughter. And I mean, I just came out laughing and I continued to laugh and I didn't know what was going on. It felt so good. So I didn't want to release it right away. But when it continued to just take over what I considered me,
Yeah.
I started to try to put facial expressions because I mean, my body language speaks for itself many times. And I'm
Yes.
asking myself, the way I understand it, God, what's so funny? Um, but I just kept laughing. And then finally, I was able to, I think, stop it at some point. And I went, wow, that felt so good. It was the most amazing feeling. And it was, I don't even like to use the word feeling because it was something beyond that.
Mhm.
It was a blissful moment. And
Yeah.
so I was speaking with someone from my church here in Maryland, and we were talking, and she said, well, you are aware that there is this shift in the universe and consciousness of a happy movement going on. And she said, there is something I even heard called laughter yoga. And I was like, ha 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 ha, really? Laughter yoga, come on. And so immediately I went to Google. Google tells us so much. And I
It
Googled
does.
it and I found that this was something that was happening that
Yeah.
started in India by a doctor, a medical doctor, and his wife, which a yoga teacher, Dr. Contario. And I was researching more to try to find it local. And I was able to find a teacher, Alexa, in Pennsylvania. And I called her. She responded immediately. I called a couple of places in New York, got no response. But I
Yeah.
got Alexa on the line. And she said to me, I called in the month of May. And
Yeah.
she said that she was going to have a session, I believe, in June. She told me how much it was and da 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 da. So, bottom line, immediately I responded, went and got trained in June in Pennsylvania and came back home. And what a difference it has made in my life. My
Oh,
family can contest to it deeply as I began the practice of laughter and sharing with them, and they didn't want to hear anything about it. They started taking it in and they put it to test with me. If I looked like I had a frown on my face or said something to my husband that he didn't want to hear at the time, he says, "Why don't you practice your laughter?" Or he would just laugh at me or laugh with me. And I started to laugh. And the reason
yeah,
for that is because I've said to them the difference that laughter makes within the body, the benefits, the health
absolutely.
benefits are just amazing. There has been research done to talk about, how the brain waves work when a person is angry for
Oh,
60 seconds. Did you hear me? For 60 seconds,
yeah.
it weakens the immune system for up to 5 hours. When
Oh,
a person is laughing for 60 seconds, it strengthens the immune system up to 24 hours. And there's more research done around that. But that just gives you a premises to start at.
yeah.
Also, research has shown where children, especially under the age of 10, laugh anywhere from 200 to 300 times a day. I mean, they're constantly, and
Constantly.
adults, oh my goodness, anywhere less than 10,
Yeah.
unless you are fully intentionally practicing in laughter.
Mhm.
Laughter definitely boosts the immune system. It helps with our blood circulation, oxygen circulation. It is a joy massager for the heart.
I
Did you
love
hear
that.
me?
Joy
That's what
massage.
it does to our heart. And so instead of out there trying to have a heart attack, it's important that we put in practice where we could have joyful attacks. Have a joy attack. And you do it through laughter. One thing about laughter, it's a universal expression, no matter what color, creed, no, none of that. It's not prejudice or anything, but it's very contagious,
Yeah.
very contagious. The body, the brain cannot tell the difference between fake laughter or real laughter. So,
Sure.
however you're laughing, your body is responding to it automatically. It produces endorphins in the brain that shoots through our body and shift the mood. And so that's why my family was using it on me. If it appeared that I was in any type of mood. They wanted to make sure that I was operating out of a positive state of mind. And so they would laugh at
Oh,
me no matter what.
that's
So
beautiful. I love that.
because it's contagious, you can't help but either laugh at the person or laugh with the person. And
It's true. Yeah.
it's great. Yep. So I could
Yeah.
go on and on and on about laughter
Oh,
and
no,
Barb.
but I love that, and I remember, in the past, I mean, I haven't seen it recently, but Shemroy, who is the choir director at
Yes.
Verity, is such a beautiful man, and
Yes.
he would every now and again start the service and go, "Okay, everybody, come on, let's have a laugh here." And the next thing you know, the whole place is looking at each other, and then the next thing you know, the whole congregation is laughing because he's standing up there giving these big belly laughs, and
Mhm.
everybody's going, okay, probably laughing at him to start with, but then getting into the energy of it, which is
Yeah.
so beautiful. I
And
mean,
it's
laughter.
a icebreaker. It's
Mhm.
also there's a doctor here in Maryland at the University of Maryland. When his patients come in, the first thing he will ask them, pretty much is, "Have you laughed today?"
You laugh.
And if you haven't, let's do it right now before we even get started.
I
It's
like that.
so important. Even when people say they're nervous before they speak, if they put a little laughter before they speak, it makes a difference.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
changes the energy
Yes,
right
it
away.
does.
It sort of releases
Yes.
tension. creates calm. Oh, I love that. I
Yes.
love that. Well,
Yeah.
I've done some laughter yoga with Noreen. Uh,
Yes.
she would do it during our, we would do Wednesday night services through
Mhm.
Lent, or even at other times we did it fairly often. And she would lead a session of that. Or if she wasn't around, Evan would lead it. And so we were doing some of that,
Mhm.
before you came, and now we get it in an even bigger, brighter presentation with you just making it a thing. Like, you do Saturday sessions often, or do you
I
do them
do
every week?
Saturday sessions. It was a request of a member, and I started that once a month. However, I've been doing quite a few of laughter sessions now throughout the community.
Yeah.
Speaking of one I just did last Saturday, Verity was invited to be a part of the One Big Hug,
Oh,
and
I
we
wanted to
made
do that with you.
history. We made history. Um, it was noted that the record was 72 different nationalities, and we had 81. And so Noreen, being a laughter yoga leader, and then Kay, being a practitioner of laughter yoga, joined me in a
Yeah.
crowd of individuals we have never met from all over the world. And we had a huge circle of individuals doing laughter yoga,
Oh,
and it was a big hit, and people felt the energy.
yeah.
They could experience a much brighter experience of preparing for the One Big Hug.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
it
That's
was
beautiful.
amazing.
Anytime we can connect people in a way that honors the individuality and doesn't require you have to be different, do something different, or it's like, let's just come together and be together and find a way to just love.
Well, it was exciting. The energy there was so high, and it just got higher and higher. And to have 81, different nationalities there with over 100 and something people. We
Wow.
were at the Bond Academy School, which is
Yeah.
not far from Verity, and it's in the Oakwood Bond community. It was fabulous. And it was ages from little ones, toddlers, all the way up to 80 or 90 plus. And it was fabulous.
I think that's the importance, is finding ways that we can connect with each other regardless of age.
Yes.
Like, I think, young people bring a sense of a life to those of us who are on the other end of the scale, where
Yes.
brings joy. I remember being at Verity a few days ago for choir, and Jackson and I, playing peekaboo and just horsing around a little bit while mom was on stage practicing. And it was just so fun to connect with that little being who just delights in life.
Yes.
Children just express so authentically and naturally and easily. And I think that's something, wasn't it Jesus who said that the children will lead us?
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah. And
Absolutely.
they're doing what we need to be doing.
Absolutely. They're
So
naturally, I mean, their natural state is in a joyful state. I
it's
mean, they learn what anger is all about. They
exactly.
learn what fear is all about. And
Yeah,
those are the two major contributors to heart attacks
of
and
course.
people having all this tension among themselves. Those are all learned behaviors,
They
you know?
are, they are.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing around racism as well. We
Yes.
know race is not a thing, it's a
Not at
construct
all.
that
Mhm.
isn't real. There's one race, the human race, and yet we
Absolutely.
found a way to divide.
Yeah,
And children don't divide,
yeah.
they add. Watch a
Yes,
little child, they just want to bring everybody into the game. They want
absolutely.
everybody to play. Doesn't language doesn't matter? Doesn't matter if we can talk to each other. We're gonna play. So
Absolutely.
do whatever. And that to me is one of the most valuable things that we could learn as we watch children, is that until we interrupt their play and teach them to be serious and different, and you got to do this or that, I think we harm we harm our whole society when we don't allow a child to freely express who they really are. And so I think, watching the kids is like, that is a gift. It is a
Surely
blessing.
is. That's interesting. Even using the word play, I'm reminded of a book called The 8 Habits of Love
Yeah.
by Reverend Ed Bacon.
Ed Bacon.
And yeah, in that book, there's a chapter dedicated to play. And as adults, when I start a session of laughter yoga, I ask the adults to please turn your age number off, turn your mindset off as an adult, and allow your child within to come out and play. And that's how we get started.
Oh, I
Yes.
love that. I love that. So give us a little example of a laughter thing here. We got a few
Well,
people who are watching.
one of the that's interesting. One of the most the exercise that no matter what I do all the time is a exercise that I teach individuals about loving their bodies and communicating with their body. And it's a chant. And I start out, I make sounds with it and make, moves with it and everything. But starting out with loving your body, speaking to your body, and laughing all the way. And so we start with I love my well, I got my hat on today, but it's I love my hair that is underneath this hat. But I
Yeah.
love my hair, and then you repeat after me. So I'll start, Reverend Barb. I love my hair.
I love my hair.
I really, really love my hair.
I really, really love my hair.
Thank you, hair.
Thank you, hair.
And then it's, I love my beautiful face.
I love my beautiful
I
face.
really, really love my beautiful face.
I really, really love my beautiful face.
Thank you, face.
Thank you, face.
And then I go through all the parts of the
Oh,
body. And at the end, we celebrate and we cheer the laughter yoga cheer, which is very good, very good.
very good.
Yeah.
Yay!
And then we laugh.
We used to do that at Verity when we would do our pray in the morning
Yes.
before service. We would pray, and at the end, we'd go, very good, very good. Yay!
And I like to do it in love, draw the yes.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
good, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that because that creates, I mean, I feel really energized now after just that little bit. That's so fun. And
Yes.
it forces us to be present, which
Yes.
often we're not. It
Mhm.
allows us to have some fun, which
Absolutely.
again, we sometimes don't do. And it also brings us to a place of self-love.
Yes.
And so many people are critical and not judgmental of themselves rather than loving of
Yes.
themselves. And finding a way to love all the little bits of us is how we get to that authentic life and living, right? That's the power.
Most definitely. Yes.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That is so fun. I'm going to have to come and attend one of your laughter yoga sessions. I haven't been able to yet, but I'm going to put it on my
Gotta come
calendar
on.
to
And
make it
it's
happen.
very powerful also at
Mhm.
retreats. I do many
Oh,
retreats,
yeah.
even in corporate settings for team
Yeah.
building, leadership connection, and
Mm.
definitely with athletes. I've had the opportunity to do workouts for particular teams, high school basketball, college level. I've worked with a gymnastic team in Chicago that I provided, a session for, and
Yeah.
so it just opens the doors. Check this out. During the pandemic experience, I
Yeah.
had a message on my phone from a chairman of a psychiatric facility
Yeah.
in Maryland, and I called trying to make sure it was none of my members there. That's a joke, but I returned the phone call. And the lady asked, she was a part of a network with over 100 mental health practitioners in the field. And she wanted me to provide them with a session to help them release stress. I was
Oh,
very touched by that. And so
wow.
at the time, of course, we couldn't come together to meet, in person. And she
Mhm.
asked, could I do one by Zoom? I had not done one, but she provided me and to practice to begin to do sessions by Zoom. And I
Wow.
provided a service for them. And it was just an honor to be
Yeah.
asked by mental health practitioners, psychiatrists, therapists, social work. Just, it was amazing. And
Yeah,
that
and as you're
was one of my
talking,
biggest calls for laughter yoga.
yeah, well, and what's interesting is the nursing profession could really use that even still,
Mhm.
because they're coming out of that, where they were locked in, they were
Yes.
watching people die daily without their families, their friends, anyone to connect with. They were not allowed to even go home to their own families. They had to stay in hotels or whatever and work long hours. And so there's been a real hit on the healthcare system here in Canada, probably in the US as well, where nurses and doctors are quitting, retiring, going and doing other things because this has been way too much for way too long.
And I'm available to all your listeners. I could start in the healthcare industry. The other area that I've also had slight connection with is in law enforcement as well.
Oh, yeah, that would
That's
be great.
another area. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think anyone who serves, anyone who is in service anywhere, especially over the last couple of years, I mean, even in the stores where they
Mhm.
cannot provide the products people want, people get a little sometimes about that, but this is the brand of soap I want, We can get a little attached to the certain items we purchase on a regular that maybe we can't get right now because of supply demands being they're just not able to meet them. And so again, even within, take one of the big drugstores here, Shoppers Drug Mart is one of the biggest ones in Canada, and offering something like that to all of their staff to drop in and do this where they can let go of their day or their, difficulties. I remember going into a Shoppers one day, and it was a woman at the cash that I, saw all the time, so we would always have exchanges, and this one day I went in and it was like, man, it was like I was offending her by being there, and
Wow.
so I stopped and I said, "How are you?" And she just kinda I said, "No, everything okay?" I said, "This is not like you. I see you all the time, and, are you okay?" And all of a sudden, that just stopped the moment, and I could see that she'd been going through something,
Mhm.
and she just took a breath, and she went, It's been a day, but thank you." Like, it was just that moment. Sometimes we need just that moment where we choose to be with somebody rather than going, "Well, how dare you treat me like that? I'm your customer." We
Yeah.
forget there's a human being in front of me, and they're having a
Absolutely.
life, and I don't know anything about it.
Yes, absolutely. And you just brought up a thought that here in Maryland, I remember one of my members, she has made a transition. So I'm just feeling her energy, Theodosia, right now, came in and she says, Rev Lameteria, I got something for you. And I said, what is it? And she said, it was a little booklet that she got with her medication from one of the drugstores here, CVS. And they had created this card. On the front side, it was little nugget messages around laughter. And on the opposite side, it was the facial, the emojis, of the
Yeah,
laugh. And I thought it was amazing to
that's
be
beautiful.
given that with her medication. Could you imagine?
Uh,
I mean, it was just so cool. And
That's
she thought
beautiful.
it was the coolest thing. And of
Yeah.
course, again, for someone who is going through a health challenge, to just remember to smile, remember to laugh, and
Yes.
what a difference your brain will make with the endorphins being produced and all of that. So it's good medicine. I don't want to
It's
go
good medicine.
it's good medicine. And here's the thing. You have it and you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, and
Okay?
it's user-friendly.
It's user friendly.
You don't need the
Yes.
manual.
It's
Don't have
very
to
valuable and very beneficial. Yes.
exactly, you don't need a Wi-Fi connection.
Not at all. You don't need an audience. You don't need
No.
any of that. Just start your day with laughter.
Oh my goodness. This has been so rich and so beautiful. We're gonna have to do this again
I'm
because,
willing. Let me get
oh,
back to my home in Toronto and we could do it again anytime. I'm
oh
here.
my gosh, this has been so beautiful. I'm just loving getting to know you, and I'm just so grateful that you're here. You were the perfect choice for Verity. I'm
Thank you.
watching the community, as it expands and grows, and it is that loving light that you've brought to this space that is just so beautiful.
Thank
And thank you. Thank you for being
thank
you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your light with us. And we're going to be signing off in a moment, but I just want to say to everyone, laugh. It's free. It's totally available. You can do it morning, noon, or night. If you need something to get you going, watch a little silly cat video or puppy video. That'll do it. Or a little baby explaining. Pierre shared one with me the other day, I don't know, a little kid, maybe 3 years old, explaining to their mother how they needed to have a higher level of being because they were kind of down here and they needed to raise it up because dad didn't deserve. I'm
I
thinking,
love
what
it. I
are you, a
love it.
metaphysician?
I love it. I love it. And keep in mind, I don't like to use the word free with laughter. So
Yeah.
laughter is very valuable. So I don't
Oh, it
like to put
is.
that word next to it. The other thing, laughter yoga is, I didn't say, it's unconditional laughter. You don't need jokes, humor, comedy, or any
Nothing.
of that to experience laughter yoga.
That's right.
And that's my story and I'm sticking to it. I laugh my way through life and I'm getting
Oh, I
ready to
love.
get prepared to celebrate my husband's birthday and a couple of other friends here in Maryland, and I will
Oh.
be back in Toronto tomorrow morning.
Beautiful. Well, have a beautiful happy birthday, Winston. We're sending you lots of love from north of the border. Lametria, have a safe travel home, and
Thank
we'll look
you.
forward to seeing you very soon. I love you, my friend, and thank you for today. This really was
You're
very, very
welcome.
fun.
Thank you.
And for all of you watching, thank you for being here. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a great week, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving, Canadians.
Oh, yes. Happy Thanksgiving. I'll be there for Thanksgiving.
You get two.
Yes.
Have a great week. This is the Joy Show. We'll see you again next week. Bye for now.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.